What's up, everyone? Monday, February 24th, Combine Week. We went like 2 weeks without football. Now it's back. We'll talk a little Combine. We'll talk Matt Stafford and the Rams, the money he wants. And Shadur Sanders, the quarterback from Colorado. I think comfortably the second quarterback on this draft, not though the Combine. Have some thoughts on that. Nothing too crazy there, but just talk about the Combine in general, what this week is. It'll be the first week I am back at the Combine since I was there in 2008. And I'll be there Thursday and Friday. For those who follow me for a long time, Duke Manyweather, my best friend, O-line mastermind, he's begged me to go for years. Finally convinced my wife that she has to be convinced that I should leave after I travel every week during the year for the Bear Bets podcast. So I'll be in Indy later this week. Looking forward to my first Combine since I played. It's 2008. Obviously, that was RCA Dome. Now it's Lucas Oil Field. I don't know if I'm going to go to the Combine itself, but the networking and just seeing friends. If you're in town, if you're listening to this, you want to meet up, just let me know. And the NFL never sleeps. We talked about a couple of weeks sort of quote unquote off here. It's been a Combine week. The biggest sort of news and note is Matt Stafford, the Rams quarterback, was reported today by Peter Schrager, NFL Network, Fox Sports as well, that he wants $50 million. Let's go back a little bit. There was talk a week or so ago about from his wife, his anger about the decision to most likely part ways with Cooper Kupp. And then a few days later, it came out that Matt Stafford and the Rams might be working on a little bit of a trade. And now it came out that they're allowing Matt Stafford's agent to go out and seek a trade if there's one available. And this all comes back to money. It's not very complicated. I don't think the Rams want to get rid of Matt Stafford, but the question they have to figure out is the money, right? So you heard it. Matt Stafford wants $50 million, which is certainly in line with what quarterbacks are getting. I would argue maybe even a little bit less for how good he is, but he's older, right? He's an older quarterback. And so right now the Rams, I'm going to pull up right here his contract information. So his base salary this year is $23 million, but his guaranteed money is only $4 million. And his cap number is $49 million. That's 17% of the cap. Last year was 18% of the cap. So it's in line with what it's been. If they release him before June 1st, let's just say release him before June 1st, that's unlikely. They're $50 million on the cap. If they trade him, that is $45 million on the cap. If they wait till June 1st to cut, I know they can cut him, or before that, they just designated June 1st. Post June 1st, that's $26 million. And if they trade him and designate post June 1st, is $22 million. I actually don't even know what designated post June 1st means. I've never understood. I don't understand that situation with the cap. Nonetheless, those are sort of the roster options and what he's due, what he's owed, and whatnot. And if you're the Rams and you're Matt Stafford wants more money. If you give him more money, that means you add years onto his contract. So that would probably include 2026, 2027, and 2028. If you're Los Angeles, do you want to commit that future cap space to a quarterback that might not be playing for you guys anymore if he does retire or if he gets hurt and the next couple of years are just an older quarterback being hurt and out of the lineup? So the Rams are figuring out, hey, do we want to pay this guy the money that he wants, knowing how old he is, how he's talked about retirement? I'm not sure he's talked about himself, but just sort of the rumors out there about him retiring at some point. And they're trying to figure out, okay, are we going to pay him? Now, on the Stafford side, they're saying to him, hey, go find a deal. Like, go see your market value. This reminds me a little bit of Lamar Jackson last year, where the Ravens said, yeah, go find your market value. Go, you want a fully guaranteed deal? Go find it somewhere. Be my guest. Go find it and come back to us with a trade, and we'll think about trading you. And that's what they're doing right now. They're going to different teams, and they're saying, hey, if you trade for Matt Stafford, will you give him the $50 million a year that he wants? That doesn't mean the Rams are going to ultimately trade him, because from the Rams' perspective, I don't get it. I get it from them saying, hey, no one's going to pay you 50. We want to give you 40, right? And they go out, they see no one wants to give them 50. Hey, come back for, 2 for 80, or, 2 for whatever you want to give them, right? 1+1 deal, whatever it is. The Rams are letting him do this to make sure to see if he comes back and says, hey, we'll accept less. We want to give you the money. Like we want you to play for another year or two, because the Rams' perspective, it makes no sense, right? You were close to beating Philly in that playoff game in the snow on the road, go bad turnovers, play the eventual Super Bowl champions. They're not that far away. They have a young roster that's getting better on defense. Now, Cooper Kupp obviously has been beat up a little bit last couple of years, so you have to find maybe another wideout. The offensive line sort of stabilized over the year. And losing Matt Stafford, there's no grand replacement for him. You know, other people might say, well, Sam Darnold can be cheaper and run this offense. He's not as good as Matt Stafford, even with a much younger player. So if you're trading Matt Stafford away, it's with the idea that we're probably not as good next year, but maybe the draft picks that we get in 2025 and possibly 2026 and more of that cap space, we can rebuild the roster on the fly, knowing our quarterback won't be as good. And there's certainly a thought of, hey, if we think Matt Stafford's got one more year in him, do we want to invest in Matt Stafford or invest in draft picks and get better essentially for the future and sort of give up on this year? Look, Jimmy G is not the answer. So that, from the Rams' perspective, I get thinking ahead, which is what all franchises should be doing, right? Not just about 2025, 2026, 27, but there's no other choice. There's no other player, unless there's a trade that we don't know that's happening. You know, the Goff and Stafford deal was out of nowhere, right? I mean, there's a possibility that there's someone out there that's willing to trade a veteran quarterback. I don't even know who that is off the top of my head that would want to do that to Los Angeles. But you're not getting anyone who is Matt Stafford. He's still a very good quarterback, guys, right? So from the Rams' perspective, I don't quite get it. Now, let's talk about potential suitors for Matt Stafford. I mentioned a couple weeks ago about Giants helmet right there. See the Giants helmet right there? Would be a bad trade. Will be a bad trade. So let's talk about where the Giants are right now. When you list out sort of game records, right? When you look at the roster, go look at their two deep. And you think to yourself, okay, where are the playmakers? Andrew Thomas, when healthy, playmaker. Malik Neighbors, very good. Maybe Tracy is up there, but not a high impact running back yet in the NFL. Defensively, Lawrence, Burns, possibly. Maybe KT, maybe I mean, it's not a lot of these guys that are high impact NFL players. Look at the Eagles, the team that they're trying to beat in their division. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. You will put Dallas Goedert. I mean, just on offense alone, right? So Giants are very far away from being quote unquote good. And investing in Matt Stafford only maybe saves the job of the GM and head coach for another season. That's what that's about. It's not about the future. You're not winning a Super Bowl with Matt Stafford if you're in New York. You're not even maybe making the playoffs. Are you getting better quarterback play? Absolutely. It's competent quarterback coach you haven't had in years. But your team is not ready for Matt Stafford yet. And maybe you say we get Stafford in there, free agents want to come, and our team gets better, you know, free agent wise, essentially. Sure, but how good are you going to get? Are you good enough to trade away draft picks for the future to get a rental of Matt Stafford for a year or two? And I would argue no. Now, I understand people in the building, and I've seen like Carl Banks tweet this out, you know, saying like, we just need something competent at that position. It's been so long since we had someone like Matt Stafford that just bringing him in, even if you sacrifice some of the future, we'll take the execution, we'll take the wins, and we'll take all that now. I get that from someone in the building, but I'm an outsider, right? I have nothing to gain from the Giants or lose with them having Matt Stafford. I'm telling you how it is. And how it is, the Giants are not a Matt Stafford away from being good. And so, again, I get why Joe Shane and Brian Dable might say we need to get a quarterback because this draft, and we'll get to Shedeur in a second, might not be as quarterback rich. And Matt Stafford for a year or two, even if it's not a championship caliber team, it just gives us a chance to win every week, and we'll take that over what we have. It's a reasonable idea in the building, but it's also not really looking ahead. And that to me is the problem with this deal. It doesn't really get them, like 2 years from now, we're probably in the same position. We're like, who's the quarterback of the future in New York? And they've won no championships. So it might be not even any division titles. And then that feels a complete waste of draft picks to trade for Matt Stafford for that reason. So, like, who's going to trade for Matt Stafford? Or who would want Matt Stafford if he's open market? Pittsburgh comes to mind, of course. Doesn't feel like a fit between him and Arthur Smith at all. So I'm curious to see if that would even work. Would you change the offense for him? You would have to. But that just the fit of Stafford in Pittsburgh, to me, is not what they had at quarterback, and maybe they want to make a drastic change. Now, again, are they trading for Matt Stafford? Probably not. If I had to put money on it now, I would say no. Now, if Matt Stafford gets released, which, again, feels highly unlikely, yeah, they'd probably be the first call. But you have a quarterback who's been in the dome, playing outside in Pittsburgh. This is his first time in his career playing outside, playing in that division. It would be much better than Russell Wilson. There's a video of Russell Wilson working out, and I was like, that's just not impressed. Better than Russell Wilson, better than Justin Fields. I mean, there's plenty better with him in Pittsburgh. But again, the fit to me doesn't fit what the Steelers have had over the years, and I'm not sure they would go in that direction. If not Giants and not Pittsburgh, I don't know. I mean, I could throw names out there like the Jets. Doesn't make sense. I mean, I'm thinking of who's like a team away from a quarterback away. I mean, the Browns wouldn't do it. I mean, I don't see the Raiders doing it. I'm just thinking of these quarterbacks. Sort of, you could say, hey man, we need. I just don't know the options are really out there unless there's a team that's we just don't know. Again, these are just wild. I mean, would the Cowboys want to trade Dak Prescott for Matt Stafford? Or the Rams want to do that? I just not a lot of great options right now for spots that will trade for Stafford and pay him $50 million a year, right? So it's both because he's going to want more money. He's no trade clauses. I don't know if they're in the NFL. So I think some players have them, but most don't. He's not going to be traded to Pittsburgh for the same amount of money. He wants more money. And that's the crux of this whole thing. But there's not a lot, even just like the quarterback market itself this year, there are not a lot, right? I mean, the Jets need a quarterback in the future. The Browns do. Maybe the Colts say we're on a Richardson. I don't know. Tennessee, the Raiders, the NFC you're looking at, again, I mean, the Giants, the NFC North is set. The South is pretty set with the Saints situation right now. Maybe quarterback's the future there in Tampa Bay, New Orleans, but nothing early in the draft. And then you have, Murray and the Rams and the Niners and Seahawks. Like, there's not a lot of quarterback homes this year. On top of the year, there's not a great quarterback free agent class, which there never is. They never get to free agency. And the draft. Let's talk about the draft. So, you mentioned Combine this week. There's really two quarterbacks that are going at the top of the draft. And it's not because they're the two best players in the draft, right? The two best players in the draft, depending on how you rank them, are Travis Hunter and Abdul Carter. But we know the quarterback's such an important position in the NFL that, yeah, I'm looking at Matt Miller's for ESPN.com. I like Matt Miller for a long time. I mean, his rankings right now put Cam Ward, 13th, quarterback in Miami, and Shadur is 22. So those might be quarterbacks taken at 1 and 3 because of the need of those teams, Tennessee and the Giants, to have a quarterback. That's the name of this game. I'm looking at Dane Brugler. I love Dane for the Athletic. Travis Hunter 1, Abdul Carter 2, and Cam Ward 15, and all the way Sanders 25. So there's not a year, even if you want a quarterback, you might not get a great quarterback. And that brings us to really Shadur Sanders not throwing at the Combine. So he didn't participate in the Shrine Bowl. Is not throwing at the Combine. And I understand the thought to say, hey, he's not competing. He's not throwing the ball. That will affect him come draft time. And I would love for him to throw the ball. I think competing in the Combine is great. I love to compete against Cam Ward and Jackson Dart and all these guys. It's great. It would be awesome. It would be fun to watch. But the fact is, it doesn't matter at all. It matters 0% to whether he'll be drafted or not. Now, will some teams that are hesitant on him say, you know what, I don't really like the competitive, the turn down of competition to Combine? I mean, they might say that in the war room, but they're not going to change their draft grade. The Giants aren't going to be like, you know what, we like Shadur, but he didn't throw at the combine, right? So therefore, we're not going to draft him. So I understand the inclination to say, hey, man, I don't like this. You should always compete, which I'm for. Like, throw at the combine. It's hard for everyone. You're playing with wide receivers you've never played with before. You're running routes on air in a big stadium with not a lot of energy after you've done competitive testing, and you're playing with these guys you've never done it before. And you're running routes you might not have done very often or practice very much. And like, it's a weird setup for someone whose job relies on timing, execution, playbook, like all these things. It's not conducive to success, but we can see in those moments who has a better arm, obviously, who might be a little more accurate, how they move, how they deal with just the stress of the combine week, right? There are interviews, there's testing, there's medicals. It's a long week, and you throw at the end of that week. And so the competition of all the quarterbacks throwing, we get to judge your arm. And here's what I think about Sanders is, again, doesn't matter. This doesn't matter at all. It matters 0%. But there are questions about his arm strength. When you watch him play, he doesn't have the zip on the ball that Cam Ward has. Now, he's more accurate. There are throws he makes that are more, quote unquote, pro throws than Cam Ward makes. But I think in the combine, you would see and come out of it thinking his arm is not what Cam Ward's arm is. But as the tweet was put out by Ian Rappaport, like, the film is what it is. We have multiple years of film that will trump seeing him throw live. If you think you have a concern about his arm strength, you can watch him at his pro day. You can watch the film. You might stand out in the combine against Cam Ward, but you might be in a spot where you're not even eligible to draft Cam Ward. So what does it matter if his arm is not as strong? Now, if his arm is the weakest of like 7 quarterbacks that are throwing at the same time as he is, red flag, quite possibly. But I don't think this is a big deal. I would love for him to throw. I think Sanders is a very interesting quarterback prospect. I probably watch a lot more Colorado than I thought I would over the last 2 years. He makes some great throws, and then he has just some bad tendencies. Holds the ball too long, not on rhythm at times. There's no at all like defensive IDing and changing of protections versus pressure. But then his offense did him no favors. Offense, some games was just so poorly designed. But I think there's going to be questions in rooms. Like, Cam Ward has a physical gifts. They're much higher than Shadur Sanders. Can you take some of that? Can you pull back some of those throws? You're like, no, don't make that throw, Cam Ward. Can you pull those back and just have him run the offense as you constructed? That's not a Shadur problem, really. But Shadur is not as good as an athlete. His arm isn't as lively. He's better pocket movement. There are times he makes much more accurate throws. He does make a lot of NFL throws. Like, there are stuff, but the upside might not be there like it is for Cam Ward. So, again, I don't care that he's not the combine. He's going to be there to do the physicals, to do the mental. Maybe we'll get on tomorrow and talk about what a week of the combine is. So I'll be there on Thursday and Friday. All right, everyone. That's it. I'm gonna look at some college basketball picks one day. Start doing mix some college basketball in here. I got Nebraska tonight. They are getting 1.5 right now against Michigan. Michigan off a loss to Michigan State. It's a bad loss too. They're up big in that game, and then Michigan State just second half of that game just put it on them. They outscored them the second half by 17 points and won by 13. I like Nebraska tonight. Michigan, it's hard to win road games, man, at all times. You're back on the road here. Just beat Ohio State on the road by 3 points. You beat Indiana by 3 points on the road. You beat Rutgers by 3 points on the road. Lost to Purdue on the road. That's kind of crazy, right? Look, their last 5 road games, Michigan. Lost to Minnesota by 3. Lost to Purdue by 1 billion points. Beat Rutgers by 3. Beat Indiana by 3. Beat Ohio State by 3. Back on the road, Nebraska. Nebraska 17-10. And they're 7-9 in conference. I mean, they're fine, right? And this is the Big Ten. They beat Oregon, beat Illinois recently, 2 ranked teams. Actually, Illinois is not ranked anymore. God, Duke dog walked Illinois the other night. Oh boy, whoo, man, that was wild. I was going to bet on Duke, didn't do it. Was going to grab them live and there was no live wager to make because they stomped Illinois. Only two teams right now. I think Illinois. I think Duke and Auburn win a championship. I'm not betting. I'm not doing. There's a Duke Auburn or the field wager you can do. I just don't trust. Don't trust Houston, Iowa State. No Big Ten team comes to mind as like winning 6 games in a row for a championship. Florida's good, but they have moments and periods where they don't look as good as they should. They start slowing some games a lot of times, which is disappointing. But it's good live wager. I've won live wager to Florida 2 straight weekends now, or 3 straight weekends now, because they will pour it on teams second half of games. Tennessee has Rick Barnes. We trust in Rick Barnes all of a sudden in the postseason. Bama plays no defense, so maybe we'll do more of a college basketball preview a different day. All right, guys. Take care, everyone. Have a good day. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. We'll talk more combine. Talk to you guys then. Bye.